So a few days ago, I posted a brand new archaeological dig of a fortress from the time of the Canaanite, dated around the time of Joshua and the entry of the people of Israel to the land of Canaan. This fortress is called Galon Fortress, and it's right in the middle between the Philistine land and the Canaanite land, later on to become the kingdom of Judah. The two closest cities that we have here, to the east, we have the city of Makkedah, and to the west, we have the outskirts of the city of Gat. A little bit to the south of us is the city of Ziklag, and also to the north is the city of Ekron. So we are right in the middle of this historical junction between those two kingdoms. As we walk in, we can see the massive doorway that guarded this place. We're now entering into the castle. We're going to turn to our north. On the northeast corner, there's a remain right here of an oven. If you look very carefully, you can see the remains of the clay that basically padded this oven for the high heat. We are continuing back to the main corridor, and in front of us are complex of storages that are facing to the west. So going back to the main entrance, right in front of us we can see a corridor that basically divided this castle to two main parts. The western part, which will be the place where they kept the animals, the living quarters, guard rooms, and so on. These are the quarters, and here are storages. This is now facing south. As we continue, this is southbound, and this is right here are the main living quarters of the soldiers that protected the main complex of the gate, which is right here in front of us. This is the main gate. You can see the size of the rocks. Look at this. I'm going to put my hand next to it. You can see how big those rocks are. These are humongous rocks, which means that they were the defensive rock of the castle. If you look at the inner wall has much smaller rocks in comparison to the outer wall. So how do we know who actually lived here? Well, again, this fort is dated to around the 12th century BCE, and this was a very dramatic time at the Middle East, because again, this collapse of the empire, of the Egyptian empire, the receding of the Hittite empire, and basically we see a major collapse of local civilization. And that is why the Bible names so many nations that live in the land of Canaan. You have the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Prevites, of course the Philistines. So you have all these little nations that basically took that void and came in to the land. Until the invasion of the Philistine and the return of the children of Israel back into the promised land, those people actually lived in the land. They actually inhabited the land. We know that when Joshua enters into the land of Israel, he doesn't find it completely empty. We see a series of battles, quite heavy battles, between Joshua and the children of Israel versus, the Amorites and the Philistines and the Hittites and the Jebusites. These nations are all called Canaanite. Okay, so this is a fort of the Canaanites. How do we know that? We find pieces of pottery which are very typical to the Canaanites. How do we know who were the former rulers of this castle? They were the Egyptians. Why? We found pottery belonging to the Egyptians. So by this pottery that we find, we can tell who are the people, when they live here, when they stopped living here, and who are the people that took their place. This castle was destroyed, again, we don't know if it was by the Israelites or by the Philistines, because we are right in the middle, but this castle was destroyed and never been rebuilt again. It's only one layer. After the destruction around 3200 years ago, this place was abandoned, never to be rebuilt again. But we do see that right after the time of Joshua and the years of the judges, we see the rise of the cities again, such as Lachish, such as Azekah, such as Makkedah, all those villages, Yarmut, all these Jewish villages, these Israelite villages that were rebuilt, especially under the reign of Rehoboam after the death of King Solomon.